With Dr. King himself, I had a very memorable experience. He had a residence in Santa Barbara, and generally his procedure was at that stage to have a rest after lunch. I say a rest because he could be engaged in an out-of-body activity or many other kinds of activity, but he would be left alone, and he'd get some healing from those of us who were there at the time and those looking after him, and then he would have this rest which could last for an hour, it could last for a little less, or it could last for a bit longer. But he wouldn't get up again until he'd finished his rest. So I, at that time, was interested in a practice that was in another book called Nature's Finer Forces, which a book he had recommended actually. And it's known as the shadow practice. I won't go into the whole thing. And you need sun. So coming from England, I thought, this is my chance. He's having his rest. We put him to bed. I was in his garden. I went round the corner. I started to do this practice, which involved watching certain shadows, doing a certain mantra. And it's a way of knowing the past, the present, and the future. That's the idea of the practice. So this is my chance. I'm going to do this. I'd only been doing it for less than a minute, I think, when he got up out of bed, the other side of his little bungalow, walked out through the French windows, walked round to where I was standing, and he simply just came up to me and said, "That's it, boy, keep watching the shadows," and then went back again and left. And I hadn't told him anything about it, which goes to show what the caliber of master he was. Yes. And he could do that. I mean, I remember in the early days when I didn't know him so well, when I was first on the committee in London, sometimes we had to make a decision which we needed information from him. For example, when is he coming to England, or to make that decision. But we didn't want to disturb him, and none of us knew him so well to do that. And I remember on more than one occasion he would just phone out of the blue in the middle of the meeting and give the answer to that question. He'd do it, he wouldn't say, "I'm now answering your question." He'd say, "Oh, by the way, I'll be coming on July the 12th. Okay, boy." That would be the end of that call, and he'd give you the exact answer you needed. He was certainly a man of mystery as well as mastery. You never quite knew just how much he knew, or just exactly what he was engaged in doing.